Our next topic comes from Revelation chapter 8 and verse 1. And the Bible says here, "And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour." And the question that came to us has to do with how we are going to experience that 30-minute time frame that is mentioned there. Is it going to feel like 30 minutes the same way we would experience it now? Or should we think of this using the time element that's mentioned in 2 Peter 3 verse 8, where it talks about one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. So if we were to plug in that framework of time, then space of half an hour would seem like less than a moment. It would just be a quick flash and it'd be done. I don't see any reason to connect the passages in 2 Peter 3 and Revelation 8. In 2 Peter chapter 3, Peter is dealing with a specific subject, that being the perceived delay in the Lord's coming. And Peter is explaining to people that God counts time differently than we do. So what we perceive as taking seemingly forever, God sees it as only a few days. Now there's a lot more we can say about what Peter mentioned in chapter 3 and verse 8. And one day with the Lord equals 1,000 years is very interesting when you factor that into counting prophetic time on God's grand plan of doing things and how long Jesus will reign on the earth. It does factor into what we read in Revelation 20, how that 1,000-year reign is what is often called in the Bible the day of the Lord. So there's a lot we could say about that. But as it pertains to what we read in Revelation 8 verse 1, I don't think there's any direct bearing on this context. So when we're reading here about this one specific event, I believe we would take it at face value that there is going to be a space of time, about half an hour, where there's silence in heaven. I would expect that we would experience that as we would feel it now as 30 minutes because of how it's worded here. I see no reason to take it otherwise. But I am a bit cautious about trying to explain how we are going to feel and perceive things on the other side of glory. When we are in a glorified body, an eternal body, how that will affect our perception of time, I have no way of knowing now. So I tread lightly when I say that it's going to feel like 30 minutes, but that's the best way that I know how to understand this verse. I realize there's something that comes with this answer, and that is when somebody asks about how I take things in Revelation, of course I'm approaching this literally. I believe when it says about the space of half an hour that it means exactly that. I believe when we read in Revelation 20 that there's going to be 1,000 years of Christ reigning on the earth, that it means exactly that. Now, that might be a little bit outside of what this person asked about. The question was strictly limited to chapter 8 and verse 1, but while we're talking about 2 Peter 3 and Revelation, I figure it's at least worth mentioning the approach and why I would say it is an actual 30 minutes is because I do believe that we can accept what we read in Revelation and everywhere in the Bible at face value. It means what it says. That's not to say that the Bible doesn't use allegory, parables, similitudes. There are metaphors, idioms, figures of speech, and I'm aware of all of that. I believe, however, that God meant for us to take what He says in the Bible exactly as it stands, unless He tells us to take it otherwise. So I hope I've helped with the question pertaining to Revelation 8 and 1. If there's any other questions about this or any other topic, as always, you can leave it in the comment section below. You can find us on our Facebook page, Bible Baptist Church of Potch. And if you live in town, we hope to see you this Sunday during one of our services. I hope this has helped, and I hope you have a great day further.